Thank you. Let me say a word about Kyle Bass. He is a hedge fund manager based in Dallas, Texas, who has spent an entire lifetime working in Asia and related spaces and is extremely knowledgeable. The warning he's just made about this Asian swine flu is very real, and watch this space. Again, my name is Frank Gaffney. I'm the president of an organization called the Center for Security Policy. I'm very proud to be with this team, the vice chairman of the Committee on the Present Danger, China. We're here to discuss, of course, that present danger posed by China to India and the world, as well as to our own country. A microcosm of that present danger, as you've been hearing, and as many of you know better, frankly, than me, comes from what China has deliberately done to destroy America's manufacturing base. But that's just one example of the threat that China poses and the way it is acting on that threat to this country. It's affecting, of course, our trade balance. It's affecting, of course, our economic security. And as this great General Stephen Quast has just pointed out, it is affecting our national security as well. President Trump will be meeting next week. Kyle mentioned the G20 meeting in Singapore with Xi Jinping, the communist dictator of China. And he will be under intense pressure to cut a deal with the Chinese Communist Party. A deal that will affect one part of this problem. Maybe it will address the trade imbalance. Maybe it will address the theft of our intellectual property, including that of people in this room. Maybe it will address the manipulation of the Chinese currency. Or maybe it won't. And based on a lot of experience with these guys, you can take it to the bank, it won't. Why is that? Because they don't honor their commitments. They benefit from the appearance of a deal and then abrogate it. And our issue with the Committee on the Present Danger is that even if this was the perfect deal on trade and on intellectual property and on currency, it would still be hopelessly inadequate. And before Shelley gets my cane, let me just say, we have to address the various other ways in which China is threatening us. Oh, you are? You're agreeing with me, not taking me away. Okay. Let me just tell you a couple of other examples, because you need to understand this when you are about to hear the demand, not just the encouragement, the demand that the president must abandon tariffs. I mean, you're asking for sustained tariffs. These are people who want to tear them up altogether right now for nothing. But here are some other thoughts. We have to address, in addition to the trade stuff, China's destruction of our manufacturing base, for starters, but also China's military buildup, which is a direct threat to us, to India, to the nations around the world, in part thanks to what Shelley has done some very important leading work on, the Belt and Road Initiative, which is a new colonial enterprise designed to build out the infrastructure, both physical and digital, by which China will rule the world, encircling India, and, by the way, penetrating and subverting lots of other places in which we have vital interests here in the United States, like Europe, like Central Asia, like Africa, like our own hemisphere. We have to address those problems, as well as one that General Quast is very expert on, and he touched on it briefly, China's bid to dominate space, which will enable it to dominate the world economy as well as the world's security in the future if we allow them to do that. These are the sorts of things that need to be fixed, ladies and gentlemen, not just trade. And Newt Gingrich talked with you a short while ago about what you need to do. You need, because our nation, as well as India, demands that all of us become involved in counteracting the pressure that President Trump is under just to cut a damn deal. And so what Newt said, to recap, was please get in touch with your elected representatives. You have a splendid example of the best of them in this room. You'll be hearing from him momentarily, Congressman Chris Stewart. You have people who represent you in Washington, as well as here in Illinois, who need to hear from you about your concerns in this regard, as does most especially President Trump. And Newt said you can use social media, you can use talk radio, you can use op-ed articles, and you can use letters to the editor, you can get in touch with your various other friends and comrades and your leader here, Shelley. Help empower him to be your voice in speaking to those in power about why we can't settle for a false deal, or even if it's not a false deal, a false or actual deal that only focuses on one set of promises. So, in conclusion, I'm appealing to you as a native-born American, because I know many of you are not. I'm appealing to you to help this country that you have adopted as your own, because you bring to this, frankly, something that altogether too many of us who had the privilege of being born here don't have, which is an appreciation of how precious, how vitally important, how magnificent this country is, and the freedoms it guarantees its people, including the freedom to succeed. So please, come to our aid now to help us defeat the present danger, China. Thank you.